I'm Mr. B, and today we are going to be looking at replacing the spark plugs and the coils on this e46 BMW 330 Ci. This is a 2003, but this spans quite a few years, and even if you have an e36, it pretty much is the same, but this is going to be for the inline 6-cylinder 3-liter engine. That engine is in a lot of different BMWs, so this is going to be the same for that as well. So if you have a 5 Series with the inline 6, you have an X3, an X5, anything like that, it's going to be the same procedure for this. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you what you're going to need. Okay, so for this job right here, we are going to need, parts-wise, we are going to need 6 individual coils. I do recommend, if you don't know how old your coil packs are, your individual coils here, to replace them. We're also going to need a OEM spark plug. This is an NGK laser platinum here. The part number is right here. I'm gonna zoom in. It's BKR6EQUP, or stock number 3199. I always recommend this spark plug for this engine here. We're also going to need some anti-seize. We're going to put this on the threads to make sure that it doesn't get seized into the head, because they're dissimilar metals. And we're also going to need, you don't need this big bottle as well. You can get just the small ones from the auto parts store. Tools wise, we're going to need a 3/8 ratchet, a couple of different extensions that you may have, a spark plug socket, or a 16mm with the magnet on the inside. This one has a rubber piece right here, so it helps you when you pull the plug out, it sticks to the socket. If you don't have that rubber piece in there, you're going to need a magnet to pull it out. We're going to need a 1/4" drive with a small extension and a 10mm to get the covers off. So that's all you should need. And again, this is a very easy job. Anybody should do it. Okay, the first thing we need to do is get this plastic cover off right here. I did mention in the tools that you might need a little screwdriver here to get this little plastic cover off. I'm going to pop this off. Lay it up there. There's also one back there if you still have it. Mine is missing. And you'll take the oil cap off here, and there's going to be a 10mm bolt nut down there. There's going to be a 10mm back here, and so I'm going to go ahead and get those off. I just have a deep well 10mm, and they just come right off. A little bit difficult to reach. Also, you want to do this while the engine is cold. You may need a little magnet to pull those little nuts out there. And when you get these off, this should just slide up and out of the way. Now you should be really seeing where we're at as far as these coils go. Okay, so these coils right here, they have a latch system that keeps them connected. And what we're going to do is we're going to unlatch each of these coils. And as you unlatch it, it'll actually poke the connector out of the way, and you just move it out of the way. It's a 3-pin connector here. And so you'll move that, wiggle these, and they should just pull out right here, okay? So you want to do that on all 6. Again, it's very important that you do this while the car is cool. 1, you don't want to burn yourself, and 2, when you're taking these spark plugs out, you can pull the threads out of the head if they're seized to the spark plug if the engine's hot. So we definitely want to make sure that the engine, the cylinder head, is cool to the touch before we take these spark plugs out. They can be a little stubborn sometimes. You just want to twist to the left and right. Of course, there's a little bit stubborn ones always are the ones that are in the back, of course. May need pliers for this. Let's see if I can skip that one. Yeah, the back two are pretty seized up, so I'm going to show you what we can do for that. Okay, if you get a stuck coil like I have here, you can get one of these little pry tools, and or something like that to get kind of under it and pop it loose. So comes out like that. Just be careful what you're prying on. All this stuff here is plastic, so you need to be very careful on what you're prying on. And on this other one here, this one's a little bit difficult to get underneath because, of course, it is. There we go. All right. So after that, you'll just slide that out, and then we're going to get ready to put the plugs in. Okay, I went ahead and put my socket, and I have my middle extension on here, and just turn to the left, just like anything else. You'll need a couple of different size extensions because once you get towards the back, you're going to have to finagle the spark plug out due to the cabin air cleaner getting in the way. I'm just going to show you how to take out one. So this right here is what we have. Let's see if I can get the camera to act right. And what I normally do is I lay them all together once I take them out in a line and inspect them to make sure that there's no anomalies or anything like that. Okay, I got all the plugs out and they look pretty uniform. What you're looking for here is just you're trying to make sure that the plug looks, I mean, it can be worn, of course it's going to be worn, but you're trying to make sure they pretty much look like all the other plugs that we have here. So I get this from a lot of my students, this little brown mark around here, around the top of where the ceramic goes into the spark plug. That's called the corona, and that's perfectly normal. That's just, it ionizes at such a high temperature that is just minerals and stuff that are in the air that get stuck to it. So don't worry about that. What you're looking for, if this is very black, if it's discolored, anything like any bent prongs, any impact damage or anything like that is what we're looking for. Now, on our new plug, this is an NGK, and this is really what I'm going to use for any of my BMW engines like this. So what we're going to do, you have your crush washer right here, and that's what does all the sealing. But we need to make sure that when we take these plugs back out, when it's time to change them next time, that they come out pretty clean. So I have this stuff right here. This is anti-seize. You can get this in like the little condiment ketchup packet type thing at the auto parts store for normally about $1, and that should do, you know, up to 8 plugs. So I'm going to take this brush here, and I'm not wanting to glob it on, but I'm just wanting to touch these threads here. Just give them a little coat of this anti-seize, and that's going to keep it from binding to that aluminum head. I'm going to do this with all 6 plugs, and then I'm going to run them all back in by hand. You definitely don't want to use power tools, either removing or installing spark plugs, and I'll show you when you got the right torque on them here in just a second. Okay, putting the plugs back in. I have my plug here. I'm going to put this into my socket. That rubber piece inside that socket is going to hold that still. Now I'm going to drop it in the hole, and as level as possible, I'm going to get as much turn as I can in by hand. Now if this hangs up, if it feels real tight or something like that, you may be cross-threading it, so you need to be very careful. You don't want to cross-thread one of these aluminum heads. I have seen it where it's unfixable and you have to replace the head. So I'm getting it in pretty tight, and it's going to take pull handle or a ratchet's fine, and you'll feel it hit the bottom, and you just want to give it about a quarter turn, basically until the veins stick out in your hands, and that'll be that. So I'm going to put the rest of these in, and then I'm going to show you how to put the coils back in. Alright, so for the coils, we don't need any dielectric grease or anything on here. You stick this on here, this will pop in like that, and then you will hinge this as you're pushing in, down to fully lock it in, and after that, we'll just make sure it's all the way down there. We're going to do that for the rest of the coils, and we will be finished.